So be ready to respond in the chat to this icebreaker. You ready? All right. Type your guess into chat. What percent of American citizens 18 years or older voted in 2020? And then type in your guess for what percent of Americans worked or volunteered on a political party, for a political party candidate or campaign in 2020. So type in your number guesses for the percent that voted in 2020 and then worked or volunteered for a political party candidate or campaign in 2020.
Jim is very optimistic and said 60% voted in 2020. Teresa, 30. Terry, is that a negative 40% or 40%? Nicole, 80%.
Okay.
Yeah. Jim is saying 5% for B, worked for a campaign. Nessa is 55 voted and 25 worked. Teresa is, I'm thinking that's more than 1% that for actually worked in a campaign. Jody is thinking 35% for voted, 4% for worked. Chris, 60% voted. Terry, 2% worked. And iPhone said 70%, I'm going to guess voted maybe, of 18 years or older. Nicole, 25% worked. Linda's saying 70% voted, 50% worked. Susan, I'm not sure if that's 48% for voted or worked. Donna, 58% for maybe voted or worked. Marcia, 55 voted, 15% worked. Melinda, 62% voted, 12% worked. I love how everybody's responding. This is really good for an icebreaker. Chris, 30% worked. DE Farm MD, 50% voted, 2 to 3% worked. Susan, B, 30%. Donna, 15%. Claudia, 2 worked. 2 worked percent. I'm not sure what that is. Voted. Oh, okay. Voted 5%, and I'm not sure about what the worked was. Marcia, 70% voted, 30% worked. Claudia, 20% voted, 5% worked. That's the end of the list so far.
Nice. Thank you
Awesome.
everyone for putting that in there. Let's see what the answers are. You ready? Voted. 66.8% of Americans voted in 2020. I mean, personally,
right on the
say, where's the rest of them?
Yeah. Everybody's kind of right with the single digits worked. Yep. And then Linda was close with 70% on the voting. And Chris was right on with 60% voted.
Yeah. So and then
over 50%. I see, Jim was right. 60% first guess. Yeah.
Yep. So, and yeah, so of 66.8% voted, but yeah, 5%. So everybody that was out there that volunteered or worked or on for a candidate campaign, you were in a very small little group.
Yeah. Wow.
People who went above voting.
Susan was definitely thinking that who worked on, because we were really in the mix of it. There were, I think if we compared it to prior years, we're probably close to when Obama had a lot of volunteers out there, because he had a really big, strong turnout for volunteering and relational organizing kind of thing. So yeah.
All right, let's look at a couple more numbers. I love these kind of numbers. This came from the Pew Research. Is it not advancing? Hold on.
It's doing what it did before. Internet issues.
Okay, didn't it? All right. So this came from Pew Research did a poll in 2021, but looking back, asking people to look back on the prior 6 months. So looking back on to the 2020 federal presidential cycle, and to see how much did they participate. So it was interesting. So and their study very much in line with what the real ones are. So they showed 66% voted, which is right there with the data. 30% of people showed their political support, their support for a political campaign or candidate on social media. So 30% of people, so a little less than half the people who voted actually took to social media to speak about a candidate or of their choice. 19% displayed a poster, sign, bumper sticker, a war piece of clothing, a bumper, I mean, a button or something like that. So 19% of people did that. Is anybody here on that 19%? We can just
Count me. Yeah.
raise hands.
Oh, yeah. I think I made it for a few people.
Yeah, I opened up my closet, and my closet is still half of my clothes have the letters PETE on them. And then I got a lot of Biden stuff too. I was wearing a Biden shirt yesterday. So yeah, definitely did that. 18% contributed money to a candidate that was running for public office or to a party or a group working, so 18%, that's pretty high. That's pretty high as far as donations. But then, yeah, the number of people that actually stepped forward and worked on a campaign is down there at 5%. And also, you're also in a nice small group of very special people because you likely signed up for this on Mobilize, and 1.5% of American adults have signed up for an event on Mobilize, 1.5%. So you're of that very special group of people. So Mobilize is often where people would sign up to do things like phone banking or canvassing or stuff like that. So it's a good metric to look at to see, okay, what of that 5% of people that were out there that worked on a campaign, which ones were doing, kind of this more rote volunteering work, but 1.5%. So if you've worked on Mobilize, thank you. You are in a very small group. All right, let's real quick, a couple more numbers just to look at as far as the donor side. So we're talking about volunteering. Well, on the donor side, so, you might have heard a lot about those small donations, those micro donations that were coming in, text campaigns and stuff that were getting, $1, $5 donations to campaigns, to the federal campaigns. Well, it turns out that small donor revolution did not arrive at the state level. So the percentage of fundraising from donors that gave less than $200 at the state level, that remained flat over 2020. It went up slightly for Democrats. It actually went down for Republicans. It did go up slightly for Democrats. So for Democrats, 12% of funding in state legislative races, so local state legislative races, came from those small donors. Which is up a little bit from before, but still 12%. So if you're going to be volunteering or running a campaign where you're raising money for a very local level, doing those text banking, ask for money, you can count on that to get you about 12% of the money you need. That means that still campaigns are largely being funded by a very small number of people. So Open Secrets shows that only 1.5% of Americans donated more than $200 to federal candidates last year. Seems very small to me, right? Anybody else in that small little 1.5%? Yeah. So yeah, of those so that's 1.5%, right? Two sections where you're talking about a very small number of people, and they might be in this room where small number of people work the campaigns and a small number of people actually fund the campaigns. So I like to think that the job then as an organizer is to find those special people and then to ask them to either give, I call it dime or time, right? Ask them, find out, do they prefer to, donate to a campaign, or do they prefer to give time to a campaign, or some of those very rare people that do both. Right? Very, very rare people that would be both a significant donor and give their time. So just letting you know, you're very special. You're in a very special category of people, and the job is to go out there and to try to locate more of those very special people, and hopefully get those numbers up. right? It shouldn't be that low. We should be asking and getting more people to participate. So what it says is continues to be that even with this small donor revelation and all and everything in this digital times, engagement has always been about building and maintaining those lasting relationships. That's the job of an organizer, is building and maintaining lasting relationships. Knowing how to do those text banking campaigns is great. But the core of your job, overwhelming core of your job, is finding and building those lasting relationships with that small little percentage of people that are out there. And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. I refer to it the power of the ask, because democracy is participation. Right. So if you care about preserving democracy, then your way of doing that is by increasing participation. And people are much more likely to participate in our democracy when they're asked. We see that at Get Out the Vote times, that just by asking people to vote makes it much more likely that they're going to vote. Same thing with asking people to volunteer or asking them to donate. They're much more likely to donate when you personally ask them to do so. And it can be uncomfortable, right? Asking people for money is, can be uncomfortable. Asking people to give significant amounts of their time can be uncomfortable, but we can't let that discomfort that we feel in that moment to slow us down. We got to keep moving. So we got to work through those emotions and be able to continue to make that ask. So today's goals, what we're going to go over today is we're going to understand why people do and don't volunteer. So we want to build up a little empathy muscles. And then we're going to talk about those preparations that are going to give you that confidence to go out there and hit that call button at call time. So to articulate your why, be able to say why you care, to be organized, and to build relationships. And then at the end, we're going to talk about how to process emotions specifically around asking people for money, and how to keep in track and maintain those relationships. So first of all, understand, why do people volunteer? Let's work those empathy muscles. That small percentage of people there that volunteer. Why do they volunteer? There's a great book out there, Aiton Hirsch. His Politics for Power is a fantastic book. It's a great read to really understand why some people don't get involved, or if they are involved, like they think they're involved because they read the paper a lot, but they don't actually take real action. Motivate them to get off the sidelines and dive in. So I really recommend that book, and the next 2 slides come from his book. So again, why do people volunteer? So these are the main reasons why people will volunteer. Either there's an issue out there that a campaign addresses, so an issue that they're very passionate about, and that would then motivate them, get them over that final fence into actually walking in and volunteering. For some people, it's social, that it gives them a purpose and then they get to meet like-minded people. Others, they're regulars. They do this all the time. They campaign, they work for campaigns all the time. Some people, it's for job experience, or a rewarding experience, or maybe just an opportunity then to meet a candidate that they like. And then for others, it's they literally can't survive the status quo. They have to get out there. They feel they have to get out there. We can be, all of this, we can be different ones. So in chat, do you think about why you volunteer? Is it any of these reasons that we just mentioned? Is it because of an issue? Is it for the social stuff? Is it because you do it all the time? Are you looking for an opportunity? Can you not survive something that is political going on? Is it all the above? Is it something else? Quickly let us know in chat.
Donna, it's issues and social.
No.
Terry just says, I always do it. It's
regular.
You have it.
Regular. Yeah. Thank you. Regular.
Lori does it because it makes me feel warm and fuzzy all over. I have to know I did my part to make a difference. Linda mentions issues. Nessa, issues, and I just can't take what's happening. Volunteering makes me feel less scared about the future. I always refer to it as anxiety and action equal activism, kind of working through that anxiety. That's what brought me to it. Susan mentions if I like the issues, the candidate, and like the social aspect. Yes. Chris, passionate about politics. Marcia or Marcia, issues, loss aversion, knowing I'm doing something to help. Nicole, social, regular, opportunity. I love helping the community out. Jim, loss aversion, rich oligarchs like the Koch brothers and Murdoch trying to steal democracy from us. Claudia,
Yep.
issues, social, and loss aversion. Susan, trying to save our democracy. Teresa, social and loss aversion brought on by 2016. I'm here with you. iPhone, I would like to forward climate change to next level, pushing it to the next level. Yes.
That's why I'm here.
So it sounds like everybody kind of has an issue for sure. That's very popular, like an issue is bringing them to the table, and loss aversion kind of pops up there too. One of the best things that I found out about what I was doing, which didn't even think about, was the social aspect. I've made it's kind of like you're with like-minded people, so it's like an automatic friend group because you all kind of get each other when you're progressive minded too. So that's been a benefit for me. So I stayed for the social. How's that? Yep.
All
That's
right,
about it
great.
there, Kaz.
So, great. Thank you for all the responses, and be thinking of that. Be thinking of, again, when you're being empathetic, be thinking about what brought you to the table, and then that would help you when you're having those conversations, meeting other people. That's part of your why, right? Why are you here? Why are you of that very small percentage of people? All right, next, let's then talk about the opposite end of this. So it's why we then know why people volunteer. But when we're out there and we're asking people to volunteer, it's helpful then to also know why people don't volunteer, right? So, and the real reasons why people don't volunteer. When you ask people to volunteer, you are going to get a lot of, oh, I don't have time. Which, I mean, none of us have time. Lord knows I don't have time. So you're going to get a lot of that. But what's the real, dig down reasons? Because I didn't volunteer for a very long time, right? And I could have said I didn't have time. Well, I have less time now than I did back then when I wasn't volunteering. So it just wasn't really a priority for me. And why, right? Let's really figure that out. So there's a couple of reasons out there that people might be feeling underneath, but they don't want to say them aloud. One of them might be that, when you're volunteering, when you're out there and you're knocking on doors, you're making those phone calls, you're putting yourself out there, and you have to be vulnerable. And that's very hard to do. It is very hard to, not everyone can do that, is to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. Another one, something that, again, they might not say aloud, but it might be true, is they might not be interested in actually, like, just want to take, to do something very shorthand. Maybe, just changing their profile picture, or their frame around their Facebook, Facebook frame is enough awareness for them, and they're satisfied with that, right? So all these reasons that people don't volunteer, that could be those secret reasons underneath, they're valid, and we need to be able to speak to them. It's helpful then if you're able to maybe recognize when one of these might have been something that you went through. So you can say, I know I'm super shy. It's really hard for me to be vulnerable and to put myself out there.
This looks like Kaz froze on us. Sugar.
For me, so I kind of
we're having really a little lag, just so you know, there's a little lag going on.
Okay,
just started. Yep.
All right, well, I'm still on the slide, so I'm just talking about how try to recognize the real reason why you might not have volunteered before, And then you can speak to that when you're talking to people that might be hesitant, because even if they're not saying that's the reason why they're not volunteering, you're just digging down and being honest about yourself. Like I just moved to South Bend, so I can say, oh, I'm not, I might feel hesitant to volunteer here in South Bend. I'm new to the area, right? But if I'm out there and I'm saying I'm doing this, that might be a good reason, a thing to share is, again, showing that vulnerability and what you overcame to become a volunteer might help others then be able to recognize what truly is holding them back and then pushing them over. All right, our main theme for this evening will be that preparation builds confidence. All right, so you got a little bit of preparation, building up that empathy, understanding why people volunteer and why they don't. But now let's really dive in into preparing to have those conversations, build those relationships with people, so then you can have the confidence to get out there and make that ask. So first, everything that we do when we're dealing with this kind of organizing, it starts with preparing and understanding yourself. So it starts with that look in the mirror to understand your why. Your why. You want to know your why. You want to be able to articulate it. It needs to be muscle memory, right? So you are in this very small percent, we've shown now, you are in this very small percent of people that care this much. Why? Why? Take that time to dig down and be able to articulate that personal story about why you care so much that you are of this very small group of people that enters into the arena to do the work. So talk about that. So think about what motivates you to be active in politics. How did you get started? Tell that story. And what are your current personal goals? So again, a lot of this is, we have everything in both the, we're putting on this course, but everything's also in the workbook to walk you through this. So you can, on your own time, take your time going through this and writing out and articulating that why. So again, be thinking about, you're special, you're different in that you care so much. What's your motivation? How did you get started? And what are your personal goals? And then also the team that you're working on, the campaign that you're working on, the party that you're working for. Be able to articulate the purpose of that team or that group. What is your team looking to accomplish? Why is this campaign important? So if you're volunteering for a campaign, I know Nessa's volunteering on multiple campaigns, right? What about those campaigns spoke to you, right? What is that? Why is it so important that candidate wins that primary or wins that race, right? Be able to articulate that. And you want to make sure that you've practiced these two pieces until it is muscle memory. Don't make those calls until you can really be able to articulate why you care, and then why for your team or for that campaign. So again, in the workbook walks you through to be able to spend that time to get this. Again, the words are articulate it, be able to speak to it, and to speak to it in muscle memory, which means it's just an instant recall. You don't need to think about it. It just, it just flows from a very authentic place. Next pieces of prep are so you know your why. And next, to have that confidence to bring on volunteers or bring on your donors, you need to be ready to bring on volunteers, right? So when you are bringing on a teammate, when you're asking somebody to do something, you got to be ready to to either have the infrastructure to bring a person on, or to make sure that there's something for them to do. So be ready ahead of time to bring on that teammate. You know, I have the very least have some meetings planned, you know, ahead of time, have a way that, you know, method of communication set up. I know at Bridges here and many places use Slack as a way of communicating, right? We have meetings, we have our regular weekly meetings where we get together. So have those things planned out. So you're at least covering those bases for bringing on a teammate. And if you have questions about how to build a team, well, just so happens on Thursday, we are having our course for how to start your grassroots organization. So if you are wanting to start from scratch about how to build a team, well, that is coming up this Thursday at 8. Also, to prep to bring on donors, to have that infrastructure ready to reach out to donors. You want to have your list of people that you are going to reach out to, and keeping track of who you reached out to. That is, you'll see me repeat that many times over and over, that keeping track of your donors is key to giving you the information you need in order to have really good conversations with them. And then also have some events or something that donors can attend, that you can invite them to. So you're not just asking directly for money. You can invite them to come to events, either online or in-person events that people can attend. So if you do a little bit of prep work ahead of time to just set the bases up for bringing on a teammate, or being able to invite donors to an event, that will give you then the confidence that when you're talking to them and you are asking them to join, you have something to ask them to do right away. And now that you have that prep work done, you know your why, you have something set up to invite people to. Now it's about building the relationship. So that making the ask is really about building a relationship. So similar to the ones that we've gone over before, when we talk about, you know, having your story, doing all this prep work. And then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to be open, you're going to be curious, you're going to ask why they care, and you're going to listen. No matter what they say, they're going to listen, and you're going to do that, what we call active listening, where you're really listening, trying to understand them more than you want to be understood. So that is being curious, creating that space for them to speak and be heard and be respected. And as they're talking, as you know, find those ways that you can make connections with them. You know, what are the shared feelings and motivations between what that person is sharing, and then what you as a person, and then also you as, you know, as a campaign, what are those things, those things that you can make those connections on. And then when it is your turn, you feel like you really understand that person, then you can talk to them about those what your goals are, right? I like to say it's a lot easier to go into these conversations and to kind of navigate things, just knowing that everybody has their own agenda, right? You clearly, when you're calling them, they know that you are calling with an agenda. With here. So, and they have theirs as well. So we each have our own goals and stuff that we're going towards. So if you can specifically talk about your team goals, and, you know, and show how they align with what their goals are as well, and then at that moment, that's when you can ask them to join you. So whether or not you are asking them to volunteer or to donate, what you're doing in both those actions, they are joining and becoming part of the team. They're participating. So again, make that ask them to join you in what you're doing. And then you want to follow up. So you want to follow up with them. If this is a donor, you're going to follow up with them, you know, with a thank you, and you know, just see how they're doing. If they're a volunteer, you know, you invited them to a meeting, following up saying, hey, are you coming to the meeting on Tuesday? and stuff like that. So doing that follow up, you can also follow them on social media. They're in your circle now, they're in your network now. You've built that relationship. So bring it together. And we were talking about, many of us mentioned the, why we volunteer. Many of us mentioned the social side of it. So yeah, incorporate that in right away. Get people feeling that social side of it right off the bat. All right, question. Now we're going to switch to donations. So question. How do you feel when you ask people to donate money? So whether it's for a campaign or your kid is doing a charity thing at school or something like that, how do you feel?
Nessa mentions butterflies, so I guess maybe nervous about asking.
Yeah.
I fear they're going to say no. Susan mentions embarrassed.
Yeah.
Marcia's nervous. Nessa, it's a mix of hope and fear. So what do we call that? Like apprehension with the little butterflies. Chris mentions anxious. Yeah, so we're not super comfortable with these things, are we? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot, and those are very strong emotions, right? It's just like, so that's just at the thought of asking people to donate money. We feel these very strong emotions. So I say first, take the time to process those emotions. So before you get behind the wheel, process the emotions. What you're going to feel, so get it out. First ones to get to before we get to the emotional ones. First ones, even before you think about doing donations, maybe you're mad just about the fact that you need to ask people for donations, right? The whole idea of campaign finance, that whole world. So if you are like on a campaign, and there's the different sections of the campaign, there's the field work and there's doing the social media, and then there's, and then there's this finance section. Maybe you want to avoid the whole section because you don't like the idea of campaign finance at all. So work through those emotions, right? So before you get involved, really just work your way through the ideas and how you feel. Like, be honest and feel how you feel about things like campaign finance, about, this world of mega donors, Citizens United, right? If you're working a local campaign, I know it gets super frustrating when you're thinking about like if you're running against an incumbent, what a huge advantage, especially money-wise, that incumbents have just from having that name recognition. People will give them money. Self-funded campaigns, that's super annoying at the local level when somebody is a wealthy person is running and they're able to shovel thousands of dollars into their campaign run off the front. It's like, feel those emotions, work them through, because none of the people that you are going to call are those people. Right? Your donors are actually the solution to all of these horrible problems in campaign finance, right? So channel those negative emotions, right? Use them to fire you up, and know that the calls that you're making are to the people that are actually the solution. So if you focus then on that solution, focus on your donors, because they're the ones that, you're not calling the Koch brothers. Right? You're calling the people that are that $20, that $100 is a big deal to them. They want to help, right? So you're calling that small percentage of people who really want to, they're on your side on this, right? So again, work through your emotions of what you think about campaign finance, and know that the people that you're calling are the solution. Next is those emotion sides that we feel just in making those calls. Some people mentioned embarrassment, right? Embarrassment is a painful emotion. It can be a traumatic emotion, right? Sometimes it can seem trivial, but actually, avoiding that uncomfortableness really drives a lot of our behavior. If you just think about how much your behavior, in your lifetime might have been actually driven by wanting to avoid that uncomfortableness. But that we can't be letting that bit of discomfort be keeping us from, something as important as democracy, right? Or fair elections or participation in this stuff. We can't let that. So feel that emotion, know that, that emotion is coming, and but then push through it, right? Work through that. You also may feel more comfortable if you then are thinking of making a transaction for the person that you're talking to, meaning a quid pro quo, something, like you're selling them something at like you would sell them at a store, right? But know that, put yourself on the other side of this, that, if you are a donor and someone is calling you, you want to help, right? You're not doing this. You're not donating because, you're going to get a trinket out of it, right? You don't have an expectation for a transaction. You want to help, right? And also, we can use a bit of psychology going for us as well. When we make that ask, it's hard for people to say no. I know candidates know, they call me, I'm a sucker. It's really hard for me to say no. So also use that, know that person, it's going to be hard for them to say no. So it's not a normal transactional situation. So you don't need to offer them anything. They want to help. And like I said, it's probably going to be hard for them to say no anyway. And also that you think that making that ask for money will get awkward. We'll just know that that person is probably expecting you to be asking them for money, right? If you're a donor, I mean, once you get into that very small number of people that have donated more than $200, you are on lists. You are on lists. You get calls, you get asks all the time. So when a candidate comes to me, I'm expecting them to ask, right? So it's like, meet that expectation, right? So that they're expecting you to ask. And oftentimes what will happen is that we will overestimate how awkward we think that situation will be. It's probably not gonna be that awkward at all. You make that ask for a donation and they say yes, and whew, that emotion is never really materialized. Also, we tend to underestimate how much people will give because we feel it's going to be awkward if we ask for too much. So yeah, don't do that. Don't underestimate how much somebody is willing to get. Don't make any judgments based on what they look like or anything like that of how much people are going to give. Go ahead and ask for it, right? If I worked on a mayor's campaign where the max donation was $100, that was easy because $100, every single person I went to, I just asked for $100. Just everybody. They could do less, but I asked everybody to donate $100. It's a huge, right? Huge commitment, but yeah, I just went there. And so yeah, just know that person is expecting to ask, so there is no need for you to feel uncomfortable in that moment. All right, further evidence of why preparation makes it so much easier to make those calls. Keeping track of your donors and knowing who your donors are when you're making that call is going to make it a lot easier to make that call. So which one of these do you think is easier? We don't need to put this in chat, it's pretty obvious. So which one do you think is an easier task? If you were told just to call that number and ask them for money, or if you were told, hey, call Lisa, she's Derek's neighbor, she owns an HVAC company, she supported Biden. We sent out that email for the kickoff asking for donations, she already gave $20. Which one of those is an easier call to make? Which ones are you more likely to hit that go button on? Is the ones that you have that information already, ready to go. You know who she is. You kind of have an understanding of how that conversation is going to go. So yeah, keep track of that information so you can then make that task easier for yourself, or easier for if you got multiple people making these calls for the campaign, then it'd be easier. And how to do that, how to keep track? Well, it's really simple. You can use, there are services out there that you can pay for, to keep track of donations and stuff like that. We're a grassroots group. We're always, good budget is zero. So we keep it. So our suggestion is to, you can, if you need to, keep it super simple. You can just have a Google spreadsheet, or you can have a notebook, and you can just record some basic information on that spreadsheet or in a workbook. So you can, contact info is an obvious one. Think of that last time that you contacted that person. Again, this is relationship building. If you're able to respond to that person, talk to that person, you're going to talk to, 100 people. But if you're able to get to that person and say, hey, I'm thinking back to the last time I talked to you at so-and-so's birthday, right? That is, you're making that touchstone. You're showing that you remember that conversation. Take notes of what their interests and concerns are. Again, this is like just being like a really awesome friend who is keeping track of where you're at. Know their level, that level of motivation that they're at. Is somebody all into your campaign, or are they just somewhat interested in your campaign? So then you know where you're at in terms of persuasion and talking to them. Who do they know? Who's their network, right? This is all about relational and building out these networks. So who do they know? Are they part of a union? Do their kids go to a certain school? Where are they located? If you're doing a local race, that can make a huge difference to know in what part of town that they're located on. So you can speak to that, where their church is. So you don't have to do all of these. These are just suggestions of things to be tracking in the people that donate. Big one is, how much did they already donate? Keep track of that, right? So show that you really care about how much about their donation by being able to say, it's like, I see that you donated $40 so far. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Know where they donated that. Oh, I see that you donated $40, at our kickoff event. That was great. That was fantastic. And then talk about for, that there's a new fundraiser coming up. Would you be interested in attending, right? Keeping track of that. And the most important is to never, ever, 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 ever then lose that list of your donors. One, you need it for this campaign, but two, for your future campaigns, that's your list. That is your list. So just like your any kind of emails or stuff that you gather during the course of your campaign, you never want to lose that. Well, this list is gold, like literally gold. So do not lose that list. And just be really meticulous about taking notes on there, because like I said, you'll find it invaluable as you're moving forward. And then last one for keeping that track is who are you asking, right? So keeping track of who you're asking. And if you want to go out there and you want to combat that dark money, then ask people to contribute who might not have otherwise been contacted or been had an opportunity to support campaigns before. So increase the number of people that are out there participating, right? It's a little bit easier to go to people that have donated before, to ask them, but yeah, really increase that number. Go to, be asking everybody. And again, don't judge people based on their appearance or something. Don't, ask everybody. And also hit up your volunteers. Your volunteers are putting in a lot of time. So ask them to donate as well. So it's all about broadening that participation. And then for building that relationship with donors is pretty much the same as what we had on so having those conversations with donors, same as volunteers. So again, you have all of this prep work done, right? You got all of this prep work ready to go, and you hit that call, hit to call that person, and you're going to ask them, how are you doing? What's something that's really super important to you, right? What, so ask those questions and get them to do that digging down. Why do they care? Why are they so, what's going on in their lives that is so important to them right now? And be really curious and listen and give them that space, right? Everyone wants to be heard. And so, yeah, you're giving people that space. Again, connect on those values and everything. And then, yeah, you're asking them to come in and to contribute. And then the big one, super important one is, as always, is then to follow up. It's this relationship building. It's not a one-time 30 seconds. Here's my pitch, hang up the phone, never talk to them again. No, you are creating a relationship with them. So you want to make sure you're following up. And following up to donors is a little bit different. If you're following up with a volunteer, they're a part of your team, you follow up with them as a teammate. But for volunteers, to follow up with them, one, anybody who says not now, that means you hit them up again. Right? You better be marking that down and coming back to them again. Ask people to donate again until they hit that max limit, right? So just because they donated once, that means that you are going to follow up and you're going to ask them to give again. Once they do hit that max, you're not done yet. If they hit that max, then you can ask them to host a fundraiser, right? Go find their friends and stuff like that, get more people involved. So again, these are, you're inviting people to be part of the team and you're helping them be able to help out with your team more and more as the campaign goes along. And always be specifically, like, if there is, you got your list, you got a fundraiser coming up, look at your list and specifically I invite people that you think a fundraiser and event might be of interest to them. So just say, hey, we got this event coming up. I was thinking about you. I think you might really like it. Or, hey, this event is in your area. I think, do you think you might want to check it out? So again, just always be offering those ways that they can continue to be part of the campaign.